everyone, welcome to Reading with the Event. Well, we're not here to talk about books today. We are here to talk about something else. Another mini series that I am starting. Already off to a great start here. But I have a bunch of them on my channel that are ongoing, and it's just something that I like doing to provide that stream of content. But I noticed that YouTube is not very grateful if you want to talk about both like books, movies, TV, games, whatever. But at the same time, it's like I'm not getting like that many views right now that I'm like risking losing an audience, because I'm still finding an audience, and ultimately I just want to talk about what I want to talk about. So we are going to do a series where I pick one TV show out of like the 300 that I've seen. Yes, I'm a TV junkie, and I will just talk to you about it. So this won't be like a themed video essay sort of thing. Like, I'm not gonna do that because I, for one, think that a lot of other YouTubers have done it better than I could, articulating their arguments, their analysis on things with like a lot better video editing skills and all that. So it's just not, I don't think it's worth for me trying to emulate it. And I am doing this like, you know, as a hobby in my spare time, blah, 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 you know, the usual shtick that I say, because it's true. Like, this makes me no money, and I still have a full-time job to maintain and all that and other things. So to rewatch a 10 or like 7 season show for a video to make some like big analysis on it, it's just, it seems a bit of like a chore, and I'm not super into that, especially not right now. So how I'm gonna go about it, I'm gonna just tell you my opinions, what I think about different things about this show. I will just walk you through the points that I'm going to be talking about, but it's going to be just like I said, it's going to be my opinion, it's going to be my, you know, what I think about it, and I'm not claiming that that's a fact, but I'm inviting discussion. And it goes without saying that it's not going to also be like a recap of every episode, because who has time for that? Although I love a good recap video, but like I'm not gonna, that would require for me to rewatch it. So like I said, I'm gonna mention things that happen in the show. I'm gonna like not try to actively spoil, you know, all the big events, but I am assuming that if you're watching this video, then you've seen the show, or you have no interest in watching it. And you're just like watching this for funsies, because I know there are some of you there who do that. So just letting you know, because it's really hard to talk about TV without talking about any of the storylines. So with that assumption now voiced, let's talk about the show that started it all for me, and that is Beverly Hills 90210. So the first point that I'm going to be talking about is, you know, how that show came into my life, where I think it stands in like pop culture, like modern media community, and if I rewatch it often, just like the general stance on it. So the reason that I started with this one is because this show, Beverly Hills 90210, which I will probably abbreviate to BH 90210. So it's the first show that I have watched back to back, like the whole show in chronological order, because I watched like Friends and Charmed, like I've seen episodes. I will talk about those in their respective videos that will be coming, because I have a lot to say. But as far as this one goes, like it was the first show that I watched that like neatly, that religiously, and it was the first one that left an impression on me in my TV journey. So I first watched it when I was like 14, I think. Now I'm 28, so like half my life ago, Jesus Christ. And I have actually never rewatched it in full, because it is 10 seasons long. Like, most of the seasons are like 30 or more episodes long, like back in the days, can you imagine? So it is a commitment. And I will get into that later, but also I don't think the whole show is necessarily worth rewatching, but that's another. Where do I think this show stands in today's like mainstream pop culture? Well, I would say that it is definitely the show that started the entire teen drama subgenre, or at the very least formed it to be what it is. I genuinely can't think of any earlier teen drama specifically. I think there was like a lot of sitcoms, a lot of like cop procedurals, a lot of like telenovela soaps, but there weren't any shows in the 80s that were specifically for teens. So I think that this show offered that space for that age demographic. So it started in 1990 and it ran 10 years till 2000. It also has a reboot, but I will talk about a reboot in a separate video because it deserves its own, because there's a lot to say about. I have a lot to say about a lot of things. Okay, don't judge me. So yeah, that's why I have no idea how long this video is going to be. So just let me talk, let me do my thing. So yeah, it's a long one. And I think that's partially why today's like young generation, it's not very aware of it, despite all the teen dramas that it provided us. Because like I said, I do think it shaped that genre. And then for like the next 20 years, we were living in this like a glory land of teen drama. It's kind of died down now, which is a shame, but we live in the world that we live in. So yeah, I think that's also one of the reasons why people, like young people, the target demographic these days, don't really talk about it. And it is kind of an acquired taste as well, because a lot of the episodes, especially at the start, they have that little bit of an after school special feeling where it feels like it's trying to teach you something. And I know that's not, like, for a lot of people, that's not what they want when they watch something. And also a lot of the stuff, while a lot of the stuff is still relatable to today's teenagers, I imagine that a lot of the storylines that happen in the show, they are quite dated, so like today's teenagers and young adults might not always find them relatable. So I can definitely appreciate that it's not a show that is necessarily like popular right now, but I do think that it's still like a cult classic that everyone's at least like heard that it exists, even if they have no interest in watching it. And I actually do think that it not having like a 4K remaster, whatever, I do think that doesn't help the case, because as far as I'm aware, there's like only like DVD rips or whatever that are in like weird weird filming, like the square like formatting, I don't know how it's called, but like it's filmed a bit weird, and obviously like the quality's not amazing, so that doesn't help matters, because we're spoiled today. We want to see everything in 4K. So that's one thing. And I need my caffeine boost, and it gives me something to do with my hands. Here's where I spill all over myself, fun times. So yeah, that's point one, where I stand with that. And I also have so many shows to watch that, again, watching a 10-season show over and over, like, it would feel like I'm not utilizing my time correctly. Then again, I love to rewatch, but we'll get to that. So another point is, I talk about just like what I think of the seasons and kind of like a ranking. Well, with this one, I don't have many surprises for you, because I do think that it's quite a steady pace when it comes to quality. So like I said, it's 10 seasons, and the first 3 focus on their high school lives, and then the seasons 4 till 7 focus on their like college years, and then the last 3 seasons is featuring their adult lives. So I personally think that seasons 1 and 2 are easily the best ones, because while they do have that bit of an after school special feeling, they also have the most heart. I would say, arguably, all of the main characters are at their most likable in these 2 seasons, because it's actually from season 3 that I'm pretty sure I remember reading that the network decided, you know what, we need to like soap it up a bit. We need to add a little bit of drama, a little bit of like this, and that, instead of just doing like these sort of storylines where everyone's like happy and getting along and stuff. And obviously that provided the drama, which brought them in even bigger ratings, which obviously what network TV is all about. But it damaged some characterization, which I will get to later. So yeah, the first 2 seasons are my favorite. And then, while I do appreciate seasons 3 and 4 are well written and they're very, very entertaining, because of certain creative choices, some of the, like, because obviously there's like a big season storyline and then there's like little increments of storyline. That's how it worked back in the day. So you have like 5 episodes with one storyline and 6 episodes of another storyline and so on and so forth. So there were like passages of those like storylines in those seasons that drove me absolutely up the wall. So technically they would still like go after seasons 1 and 2 and before everything else. But yeah, I have feelings about it. And then seasons 5 to 8 are all kind of like a little bit on equal grounds for me, I'm not gonna lie to you. There's some new cast members, some people leaving, some new drama, like, but you can definitely tell that, especially after season 4, which I will talk about as well, that's when the tone really changes and it goes really into the soap opera with all the storylines as well. Like there's this massive shift, and it's like it leaned away from the teen drama aspect and it leaned more into the soap opera. So it really depended on the storyline. Some of them I really enjoyed. Others I was just like, I just want to skip like 10 episodes. I do think I ended up skimming through some of the episodes because, again, there was like a lot of stuff going on. And then arguably, no question about it, the last 2 seasons of the show are the worst. And honestly, like, I don't know why it continued on for so long, because the last 2 seasons, they don't really need to be there at all. It had maybe like a handful of half-decent episodes amongst them 2 seasons, which were like 30-something episodes, because I remember the last one was cut short. So the last one, I think, only has like 18 episodes or something like that, whereas like all the others had like from 20 to 30, some even more than 30. I think one of them had like 36 or something, which is wild. But yeah, so you get the point. It was like a very steady, and I do think that while it kept like descending quite slowly, it never actually picked up again. You know, when you watch some shows and you think like, oh, so this started out really well and then it dipped a bit and then it picked up again. It doesn't really pick up. So yeah, you know, take that however you will. But yeah, so that is where I stand with the seasons. And now I'm going to get into the characters. So how this works is, so obviously, like I said, I'm not giving a recap, but I will talk about what I think of the character and their journey, and that in turn will feature me talking about some plot points. So just be warned that some stuff might be spoilery. So if you are thinking of watching this, this is your turn to maybe, you know, bow out or like, you know, skip through a bit, or, you know, if you don't care about being spoiled, then you crack on. But yeah, so the first character I want to talk about, because she's my favorite, is none other than Brenda Walsh, played by late Shannon Doherty. And I think that her character is probably, like, her character arc is the biggest example of how behind-the-scenes drama can affect what's written for you on screen. So Brenda is only in the show for 4 seasons, which is why I said that, weirdly enough, it is after her exit that the show, it descends into this like soapy territory. And she left because Shannon Doherty was unfortunately fired from the show due to some behind-the-scenes disputes with both Jenny Garth, the actress who plays Kelly Taylor, which I will talk about her like pretty soon. So And then also Aaron Spelling, the creator, she had disputes with him. Like, it was a mess. So she was written off, and you can really tell that they took out what they were feeling for Shannon Doherty behind the scenes on the way Brenda's character was written. But if we take away the behind the scenes stuff, although it's hard to separate it now, knowing everything, especially as some stuff came to light about like Shannon Doherty's career trajectory and stuff, you know, before her passing, it was very, it's very hard to separate, but I will try. So, Brenda starts the show as a fish out of the water because her and her twin brother Brandon move from Minnesota, like the snowy, cutesy, cozy cabin lifestyle, to Beverly Hills, which is the exact opposite. They move because of their dad's job, I think, and she immediately makes friends with Kelly, her, well, friend, rival, whatever, we'll get into that, but she kind of like finds herself in the popular group like pretty effortlessly, because obviously she's really pretty and really sweet and kind. She is a bit naive, but you know, aren't most teenagers. She tries to, you know, fit in and be cool and be accepted, which I do think that no matter the decade or century is something that a lot of teenagers struggle with, you know, that need for love and acceptance and acknowledgement from their peers. So I think that her character was a really good way to illustrate that, and also illustrate how difficult it can be for young people to get ripped away from an environment they know and shoved into somewhere else just because their parents, you know, need to do it. And I understand both sides, obviously, but it doesn't mean that it's not difficult. So, you know, during the first couple seasons, we see her navigate, you know, her friendships, her life in Beverly Hills, her relationship with the bad boy Dylan McKay, who I'll also talk about. I have a special category for relationships, so we'll get to that. But yeah, you have like this thing where it seems like she's like having this nice trajectory, and then something happens. So we know behind the scenes, obviously, what was happening, and they translated that into the show. But something changes, both about how Brenda acts with the rest of the group and both how they perceive her. And in a really sad turn of events, she kind of ends up being an outsider in her own friend group, and she leaves the show a little kind of on sort of outs with most of the people who she spent years with. And I just think it's really sad, but also, if we're just taking the story they were trying to tell, ignoring all the, you know, stuff, it's kind of realistic, because sometimes you realize that for one reason or another, you don't fit in with the people who you spend years thinking they were like your best friends in the world. And obviously the whole love triangle thing, which I'll talk about, definitely had an effect on it. But just overall with Brenda, I think that it was to show that she kind of, in a way, grew out of them and those friendships, and also wanted something different from her life. And not to mention that, you know, her friendship with Kelly, she always felt, you know, especially after the whole love triangle thing, she felt like, you know, they would always be rivals on some level, and that's not the sort of friendship that you want to have with someone. So yeah, I do think that they really wrote her character off in that way, to then make it seem like her exit was something that was always going to happen, and to soften the blow for the audience, and to show that people weren't really going to miss her. But I can safely say that her absence in the show is really felt. That's why, like, the whole tone changes. And I will just touch upon Valerie for a bit, but because I'm not going to walk through every character, just like most of the main cast, and then like whoever left an impression on me, if anyone, which might not be applicable for every video. But yeah, as far as I'm concerned, the show really started dipping when Brenda Shannon Doherty left the show, and it can really be felt, as much as they try to deny it, and the fact that they barely mention her after she leaves is a bit insulting. But again, drama everywhere. So one last note on Brenda as her own character. She was so pretty. Like, her style, like, it was so cute and in a way timeless. I would so wear most of her wardrobe. And I know that one of the big arguments Shannon Doherty had with Aaron Spelling was because he was very anal about women on his show not cutting their hair, like for continuity and like for their image and stuff, because obviously like photo shoots and all that, like promos were made, and if they change their looks then they have to redo the shoots, whatever. And she just went and cut her hair off anyway and like gave it highlights and stuff, and I just found that hilarious, because I mean, I've had the same hair for years because it works for me, and I can, like, you know, do different like hairdos on it. But I understand people who always want to like style their hair differently. I can understand how it can be super grating to have the same hair for years, and wigs are a thing as well. So, you know, let's not act like she committed some capital crime. So yeah, now we're gonna talk about Brandon, and I don't have that much to say about him actually. Sorry if the angle's changing a little bit, like sometimes I have to check my phone and all that because I'm filming with it, as you know. So yeah, anyway, Brandon Walsh, he is the male half of the twins, Walsh twins. He also goes to Beverly Hills from Minnesota, and he is, well, he's framed as a nice guy. And frankly, doesn't really have much character development throughout the whole show, if I'm honest. He's just kind of there. Like, don't get me wrong, he has storylines, but most of his storylines are kind of centered around him doing something for other people, or like some kind of like school activity, or him being stuck in a love. So many triangles. If anything, the biggest character thing that he's ever done was cheat on his fiance in season 8, and then still going through with the wedding and leaving the show. I will talk about that, but basically the point is that the show starts with the Walsh twins moving to Beverly Hills and their life there and all that. Okay, they wrote out Shannon Doherty. Okay, but then Jason Priestley, who played Brandon, wanted to leave as well. And they wrote him out. And it's like, the parents were also already gone. So that's why the last 2 seasons feel so crap. Because you don't have your central premise anymore. The 2 characters that were the heart of your show, and they tied the show together, they left. So, like, you get what I mean. But yeah, like, I'm not gonna lie, like, yeah, Jason Priestley, like, dreamy blue eyes and all that, but he just never really left an impression on me. Like I said, he was mostly just there, and I'm like, you know. So yeah, that's Brandon. Just nice guy in the neighborhood, whatever, I don't know. And then you have Kelly Taylor, who is arguably, like, the main female character in the show, because she's there for the whole 10 seasons. But God, this woman, I'm convinced that, like, writers for other shows, like characters like Marissa Cooper and Peyton Sawyer, Elena Gilbert and all that, I'm convinced that they used Kelly Taylor as a blueprint, because this woman has been through so much, such trauma, I mean, just at the top of my head, she's been through eating disorder, cocaine addiction, getting scars from being trapped in the burning building, fear of HIV. Her mother, I'm pretty sure her mother had cancer at some point. Then she was sexually assaulted 3 times. One occasion, well, I don't know if occasions there were, but like one instance was a date rape situation, which happened before the show started, but it was like talked about in great detail during one of the episodes. And then one of them was an attempted assault during a Halloween episode in season 2. And then another one was, you know, what we're told about in schools, like avoid alleyways with like dark alleyways with strangers lurking. It was that sort of scenario like in season 9, I think. And I was like, why are they torturing this woman so much? Because it came to a point where most of her character just felt like trauma, like the writers just had a bingo, like, oh, let's see how we can torture Kelly today. It's like, and it came to a point where I was thinking, like, what is there to her character apart from all these horrible things happening to her? What is she? Who is she, you know? And really had to look for things because, like I said, trauma everywhere. It does make sense that she's always, like, a bit mean, a bit moody, a bit jaded with all these things happening to her. Like, it does make sense for her character to act that way considering, but also it can get a bit grating as much as you feel for her with all these things happening to her. It doesn't change the fact that she can be kind of horrible to people. But to those that she loves and cares about, she is very, like, loyal, mostly, and kind and, like, caring and empathetic. Like, she does try. But, yeah, it can be hard to like her character a lot of the time. And it's almost as if they were hoping that by making all these bad things happen to her, they will elicit sympathy from the viewers for how horrible she can be, especially after the whole love triangle thing. But yeah, I mean, Jenny Garth plays her fantastically, like, no comments there. But yeah, it's just her character is a mess in terms of, like, what she's been through, and it's hard to judge her, like, who she is without those things. So that's that. Then we have our Dylan McKay, played by late Luke Perry. Honestly, so sad. He was always my favorite male character on the show because it's just, I feel like characters like Chuck Bass and whatnot were kind of modeled after him, but you know, he doesn't exactly sell his girlfriend out for a hotel and all that. You know what? We'll talk about that in the Gossip Girl video. That's probably going to be like 3 hours. So, yeah, he has, like, mommy issues, daddy issues. Like, he has absent parents, absent everything. Like, he has a lot of things to sort out. And, again, a lot of his character arc is, like, inner turmoil, like, trying to find connections with someone, being used for his money, having alcohol abuse problems, you know, that sort of thing. And he's actually in the show for only, like, 2/3 of it. He leaves mid-season 6, and then he doesn't come back till, like, mid-season 9, which I think was their last-ditch attempt to make the show worth watching in the last couple seasons. I mean, it worked a little bit, I guess, you know, but so yeah, like, he definitely was, like, the blueprint for that bad boy tortured soul stereotype, which has been used for, like, multiple characters in shows succeeding this even. So yeah, he was definitely meant to be, like, that juxtaposition to Brandon's nice guy, and that was even, like, used in the second half of the show with the whole love triangle stuff. So yeah, I mean, I definitely have my problems with him with certain choices that he makes, especially, again, with the love triangle. Honestly, drink every time I say it. But overall, I can definitely understand and empathize with him, as he's a deeply damaged young man who, frankly, every time he finds someone who genuinely cares about him, it gets ripped away by someone or something. So it's just sad. And I always felt sad for his character. in like a really deep way. I do think that those are the characters I have the most opinions on, so just like a little bit of a quick fire on some of the other mains. So Donna, played by Tori Spelling, I have no feelings about her either way, and I'm not being mean, but it was pretty much confirmed that she was just put on the show because she's Aaron Spelling's daughter, and that was it. Because let's be real, her acting skills aren't anything to write home about. And she didn't really have any storylines apart from, you know, she wouldn't sleep with David until she was married. So that was basically her whole storyline. Just her holding on to her virginity, which I'm just like, take it or leave it, I don't know. And then Steve, played by Ian Ziegler. Sorry, I don't remember all the names. But, again, not much to say about him. I do think that, like, he's not a perfect guy, but I do think that he's not a bad guy either. If anything, in some instances, he's nicer than Brandon. And he does grow up by the end of the show. Like, they give him, like, this storyline of fatherhood and all that. So that, I think, like, he had good development. I just didn't particularly care for him because I just didn't think that his character had that special pizzazz. Because, like, a lot of his storylines, I'm sure he had his own storylines, but I only remember ones where he was, like, tightly knit with other people, which says everything. David, again, don't really have strong feelings either way. I do think that his portrayal, like his character is bipolar, so I do think that his portrayal of it was actually a bit ahead of its time. I mean, I'm not a professional, I can't say how accurate it is, but it did feel like something more like groundbreaking for the show and for the time period it was set at. So I could really appreciate that. And I can appreciate that his character wasn't just, oh, I'm bipolar. Like, he was a whole developed person in that narrative. So definitely appreciated that a lot. I thought his relationship with Donna was sweet sometimes, but I wasn't like that invested in it, I don't think. So yeah, it's fine. And then Andrea, again, no strong thoughts. Like, I thought she served her purpose well in the show. I know the actress wanted to leave, and I hate that they wrote her into the Babies Ever After ending when she was, like, the least maternal out of, like, all of the 4 main girls. So, not a fan of that. And then, also, I do think that her, like, crush on Brandon, I do think overall that there was some potential there that went a bit unrealized. Which is a shame. And, who else? Oh yeah, the parents, obviously, Brenda's and Brandon's parents, they left the show halfway through because, according to the showrunners, they just felt like there was no need for them to be there now that they were, like, grown up in college and all that. I mean, I don't know. At that point, I don't think it made a difference for them to be there, but I do think they added that bit of, like, heart, bit of more grounded feeling, and once they went away, then the whole thing just sort of, yeah. Oh, and Valerie, who was Brenda's replacement, seasons 5 to 8, I thought that Tiffany Thesson played her really well, and she was meant to be foil for Kelly, because, you know, Brenda was so lovely and sweet and Valerie was a bitch. And she did have, like, hidden layers to her, you know, with her, like, abuse and stuff that was revealed to us. So I thought her character was fun. Did I love her? I mean, I don't know. She was very shit-stirring type. And she created some fun storylines, but I don't know how I feel about her. Like, the fact that I thought, oh, I need to mention her, and then I just started talking about everyone else before I even remembered her. Like, I think it tells you a lot. And her replacement when she left, Gina, I don't care, honestly. And the guy who owns the diner that they would frequent at and work at, He's really sweet. I think his name's Nat. So, love him. He's adorable, even if he's not super developed. So yeah, that's the characters. And now the relationships. Well, I'm not gonna go through every single one of them. Fuck that. Just the ones that left an impression on me. So I will just talk about so the big love triangle that I keep referencing between Brenda, Kelly, and Dylan. It's probably one of the biggest love triangles in the history of TV. I think it actually like started the trend of them, at least like to the extreme that other shows picked up on it. And I mean, I know that it's good TV, but I hate love triangles. Like, I hate the principle of it. Because to me, I don't care how young or hormonal you are, if you love a person, if you're committed to them, you're not going to want to explore. Or if you want to explore, like your feelings aren't strong enough, then you're going to break up with that person and then go do your explorations elsewhere. It just feels like, you know, I would say a mature thing. I don't know. Even as a teenager, I didn't see an appeal in it. It's like, if you're with a person, they're your person. If you fall out of love, okay. But this whole, oh, I don't know who I like more. What do you mean? Like, stop stringing people along. So, it didn't help that I have always been a Dylan and Brenda truther even. To me, they're perfect. They balance each other out. They challenge each other. Brenda is Dylan's safe space. Dylan shows Brenda like a little bit of, you know, spice to life. You know, they have like the best chemistry. They're so sweet and intense, but like not to the point where it's like super toxic. They, you know, they had like this 1.5 long amazing love story, and then it just felt like it was tainted by the need to create this love triangle. And the fact that then they framed that it's always been Kelly. So basically, if you don't know what happens, is that I'll summarize. So Brenda and Dylan, they go to this Mexican resort, and Brenda forgets her passport, so she gets detained at the border, and her parents have to pick her up, and obviously they're fuming because they didn't allow her to go because of, I think she got a bad grade or something, I don't know. So they didn't allow her to go, but she did it anyway. So now they're like, Dylan's a bad influence on you, blah, blah, blah. So they tried to fight it for a bit until her parents are basically like, you need to spend some time away from Dylan and reevaluate your priorities. So go to France in place of Kelly, who is staying in Beverly Hills to spend time with her newborn, like, half-sister. So they do that. Brenda goes to Paris, and she meets this guy. She's a bit smitten, but, like, she's still, like, with Dylan, so I think they share a peck, but, like, it doesn't go further than that. Meanwhile, Dylan and Kelly, on the other hand, since they're left there by themselves, they have a full-blown emotional affair. Yeah, they never sleep together at that point, but they have this affair, and they don't tell Brenda. And then, throughout season 3, Dylan and Brenda break up, and then it's framed as if suddenly Kelly likes Dylan too, without Brenda knowing the context, and it's framed as if Dylan needs to choose between the two of them. And then it happens during a New Year's party, which Brenda can't make, because again, her parents ground her and like lock the door, whatever. Basically, her parents are the biggest cog blockers in the whole show. So Kelly's the one who shows up, and Dylan takes that Brenda doesn't want him anymore. And so he tells Kelly it's always been you, and they get together. And then they tell Brenda about their summer fling, you know, when he was still with her. And they basically ask her to be okay with it. And she's rightfully fuming, saying that she never wants to speak to either of them ever again, which, good for you. But then, this is what I was going to say when I was talking about Brenda's character, because everything ties in. But I have to separate a bit, or I'll be going into like circles and tangents. So the thing is that with the whole Brenda's an outlier to the group, it started with this love triangle. because Brenda realized that if she doesn't forgive Kelly and Dylan for doing this to her, she's going to lose her whole friend group, because for one reason or another, everyone is going to choose Kelly. David is Kelly's stepbrother now. Donna has been Kelly's best friend for like years and years. Steve is also going to choose Kelly because they've been together before. Like, he still holds a bit of a torch for her. Like, you know, there's like this baggage. The only person who might be on her side is Brandon, but the way he handled that situation, like, I couldn't stand him for that. Andrea, she's a bit of a follower in the sense she will just flock to like the biggest group. So you see what I mean. It's like Brenda was faced with a choice. Either she is completely by herself for like the rest of the school year and like severs these connections, or she forgives the people who wronged her. And frankly, I don't blame her for choosing to forgive. And I know that for the show and drama to continue, they needed these interactions. She couldn't just not speak to them, but personally, I would have never spoken to anyone from that group ever again, and I wouldn't have spoken to my brother for like years for not, you know, punching Dylan in the face for that. So that's that. And then obviously Dylan and Kelly's relationship, I mean, I'm just gonna get it out now and be done with it. I can't stand them together, and the fact that the narrative tried to frame that they were meant to be, I was like, give me a fucking break. It's like, fuck off. You're just doing that because Shannon Doherty left the show. If she stayed on, this wouldn't be happening. So, yeah, I was not digging them. This was the love triangle situation where I was like vehemently against one of the couples while absolutely adoring the other couple. So of course, I'm not gonna like this triangle if the couple I was rooting for was framed as, oh, they're not meant to be, whatever. So you get what I'm trying to say. Excuse you? I'm talking here. Honestly, the nerve of that dog. So, yeah, basically it's, my feelings are very, very categorical on this situation. And, yeah, their relationship, like Dylan and Kelly's one, to me, it was reeking of just being physical, just being sexual, and like this attraction, whatever. And I couldn't get behind it. Like, I felt no connection between them. And what ruined Kelly and Brenda's friendship, like, you can't really recover from that no matter what you try to tell yourself, is that Kelly always felt insecure over the effect and connection that Brenda and Dylan have, rightfully so. And she kept trying to, like, turn Dylan so that he wouldn't go to Brenda, because he was pretty much ready to get back together with Brenda, like, through most of season 4, even though he was with Kelly. It felt like he was thinking that he made a mistake and he was gonna go back to Brenda, but frankly, I'm glad that she kind of put a stop to it, looking back on it. So, but considering that even as friends, Dylan and Brenda in season 4 have 12 times more chemistry than Kelly and Dylan ever do, it's telling. So yeah. Then Brandon and Kelly, she had a thing for him in season 1, but he friend-zoned her hard. And then that was kind of forgotten about with the whole Dylan thing. And then season 4, at the end of it, after Dylan and Kelly break up, her and Brandon jump into bed together quite randomly and pretty quickly. And then season 5 is another love triangle between Brandon, Dylan, and Kelly that ends with Kelly choosing herself in a very Serena van der Woodsen. Gossip Girl so ripped this off. Anyway, yeah, so then that whole love triangle sorted, and then Brandon and Kelly are presented like the main couple for like the next 3 seasons of the show. But it takes for them to like end of season 7 to actually get together properly. And then the cheating I was talking about, they get engaged, and that's the person Brandon cheats on. They spent seasons and seasons on like doing the long game, doing this for the viewers to root for them, and then he fucks someone else like 10 episodes in. And like I said, they still tried to go through with the wedding, and they end up not doing that, and they end up breaking up, and then Jason Priestley leaves the show. Brandon leaves the show. So yeah, I just think that their relationship also was done like with such disservice and frankly some out of character behavior, or you can debate how out of character it is. Like I said, I have no strong feelings about Brandon apart from a few situations that are mostly negative. So whatever. But yeah, you see what I mean. It's very like a lot of relationships in the show were butchered because of the drama. And I think these are actually all the relationships that I cared about. Yeah. Dylan and Brenda, OTP for the show, still like probably top 20 ships of all time for me. And Brandon and Kelly, up until a point, I was rooting for them. David and Donna, like I said, they were cute, but not like swoon worthy. And then obviously the parent characters were like cute, but like they, you know, I didn't care for them that much. So nothing bad to say, nothing like spectacular either. So, you know, that's fine. So Dylan's love interest, who he actually marries, and she's murdered that very evening. I actually really liked their chemistry, even though it was rushed. That's actually how they write him off for 3 seasons. Because he just goes to Brenda in London. But yeah, so I actually really liked their chemistry. Who else? I did like who Steve ended up with. This girl, Janet. She was really sweet. But again, like, nothing to write home about. Like, I do think that this show, like, tried to give us a couple of, like, calm ships. Just in the midst of all this chaos. I know Valerie had a love interest, but I don't remember having any strong feelings about it. So yeah, lots of relationships. If I tried to draw a diagram, we'd be here all day. But those are like the 2 that I have strong feelings for, and both of them were involved in really shitty love triangles. So that is that pretty much on those things. And then the last section I have is any kind of hot takes and popular opinions, which is kind of like, I'm not in a lot of fandoms enough, like, lurking to see what's popular and what's not, because I'm a part of a lot of fandoms. It would be like a full-time job, and also not a lot of fandoms of like older shows especially have a huge online presence. So just some opinions that I have that I kind of already voiced, but I will summarize them here, and then I think we can leave it here because I've already been talking for like 45 minutes. So like I said, I don't think Brandon is as much of a nice guy as he's portrayed. Like, he is nice, but he's not that nice. And I think that Steve is actually the better guy, the nicer guy. I do think that as much as Shannon Doherty was having those disputes behind the scenes, writing Brenda off the show was a big mistake that changed its trajectory forever. I do think that the love triangles did more harm to the show in the long run, even though it provided like short-term entertainment. I do think that as much as I feel sorry for Kelly for everything she's been through, she's a hard character to sympathize with because she can still be horrible. I don't think that Valerie like fit in Brenda's shoes as her replacement as perfectly as some fans might think. David and Donna, like I said, I get they were that like sort of constant through the show, but most of it. But again, it got a bit grating, the whole virginity virtue storyline. What else? I would say I didn't mind some of the after school special seasons, even if they had those like little lessons here and there, just because I thought that they were still well formatted. What else? Like I said, I hated the babies after ending for Andrea, but I don't think that's an unpopular opinion, especially nowadays. Then what else? I don't know. I do think that Dylan and Kelly have a fairly big shipping team somewhere. I don't know. So maybe me preferring Brendan Dillon to that extent is unpopular. I don't know. Let me know what you think about that if you watch the show and you have an opinion about it, which I don't think is likely for me to find those people here. But that's why I'm putting this video out here, to try. So, yeah, but overall, frankly, I'm not gonna lie, now I'm surprised I remembered this much, considering I've not watched it in full since the first time, as I said already in this video. So, I'm proud of myself, and, you know, this is still working, which is great for me, because, you know, working is hard, and I'm tired. But yeah, I think I will probably leave it here, since this video is already like 15 minutes-ish without cutting. So some of it will be cut out a bit, but it will still be like 45, 50 minutes, which I'm fine with. But yeah, I'm very much looking forward to talking about, well, lots of shows. Lots and lots of shows. If I have nothing to say about a show that I've seen, obviously I won't make a video about it, but if I have stuff to say, I will say it. I mean, some of the ones that I'm definitely making videos for will be Buffy, Charmed, Gossip Girl, Pretty Little Liars, The Vampire Diaries, Teen Wolf, Life's Friends, Modern Family, That 70s Show, Parks and Recreation, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Dexter, Suits, like, just some of the ones that you'll be hearing about. Don't know how often I'll do these, but we'll see. And clearly he wanted to be, aw, my little star baby. Yeah. So yeah, he wanted to be involved in this, obviously. So you have this to look forward to. Him in the background, me chatting shit about random shows. The next one, I don't want to guarantee which one it will be. At the moment, it is between Buffy and the reboot of this 90210. So I will see how I feel, but it's definitely going to be one of these two, I think. So, hope you liked this. If you have watched it, or if you just want to contribute to a discussion about this based from what I said, then I do want to hear about it, because I do think that this show deserves its flowers for what it did for the industry. So, I do hope to see you next time.